Good afternoon and welcome to our July 2019 Park and Rec Commission meeting. And welcome to all our guests. Our first order of business here is our agenda. Everybody had a chance to read that? Any additions or anything? Otherwise, motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion second to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next order of business is our June 10th meeting minutes. Those are included in the packet. Anybody have any changes they'd like to discuss? Okay.
I move we accept them as printed.
Second.
All right. Motion and second to approve last meeting's minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next to our Park and Rec Department activity report from June. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and members. You have before you the activity report from the month of June from the department. And I'm willing to try to answer any questions you may have. But lots of activity, of course, especially outside during the summer.
Anybody have any comments or questions for Director Schmitz? Otherwise, we will order that filed and move on to City Council meeting recap. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and members. We've had a few City Council meetings since our last Park Commission meeting. June 18th saw the City Council receive and file the 2018 audit. They also authorized temporary camping for a BMX race event down at the BMX park, as has happened in the past. And then they accepted the donations that you recommended they accept. June 24th saw that the City Council authorized hiring Audra Shanneman as the Economic Development Director and Assistant City Manager. And then July 2nd saw the City Council authorize almost $37,000 of funds budgeted for the Recreation Center boiler replacement project to be reallocated to the final two projects at the Glockenspiel, which includes replacing the last of the last 7 figurines out of 21 total figurines, and then the control system will be moving from analog to digital. Some long overdue projects, and that will end the projects down at the Glockenspiel for quite some time. So that was the action that the City Council conducted of our business over the past month.
All right. Thank you, Director Schmitz. Any questions for him? Okay. We will move on to our old business. First order is renew update on the Herman Park.
Yes, thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. We'll just go through a renew update, and the first one I'd like to discuss is Herman Heights, and that is actually in your packet on number 8, page 8 of 35 of the PDF. And we are nearing completion of the concept phase for the Herman Heights Renew project. And I think we all realize what that entails is relocation of Monument Street and the intersection of Monument Street and Center Street. And then installing the parking infrastructure, which includes storm sewer, and curb, gutter, sidewalks, parking areas, and of course the Monument Street Drive that services those few residences back in the park. And so you have a concept sketch in the packet, and staff is continuing to work with our consultants Bolton and Mink on that to finalize the concept. And then it'll come to Park and Rec Commission and, of course, Renew Oversight Committee, and then on to City Council for their authorization to proceed with construction documents. And I think we're right on schedule for design and bidding over the rest of this year and the winter, this coming winter, with potential awarding that project during next year, 2020. Or it could also be awarded for construction in 2021. Any questions on the Herman Heights Renew project?
Bolton and Mink is here. Is there any projection on the construction cost for that first phase?
We do not have an updated
Okay.
cost estimate. We're still fine tuning the concept.
Thank you.
There will be construction estimates coming along with the CDs, the construction documents in the future. Any other questions about Herman Renew?
So are the future shelters, does that mean far in the future, or does that mean when it's built? The reason I'm asking, because it looks like we're losing one shelter to stormwater.
Well,
Pond.
the blue, correct, the blue depictions in this concept are from the master plan. And of course, the master plan is something that, you know, could be implemented down the road in future years. None of it is funded, none of it is authorized. There's a possible relocation of a picnic shelter in the master plan. So I would say that sort of, we know we're probably not gonna relocate the monument or the playground, but the other elements in the park are potentially modifiable. And the master plan is, you know, also a conceptual master plan.
So do we go down to only one for a while, or not necessarily?
No.
Okay.
No, we will be maintaining 2 shelters, is my understanding, with the Herman Renew project, yes.
Okay.
And of course, we also realize that there's another different group, a committee authorized by the city working on the slope project, the retaining wall project. And I imagine that will go to the council in the next month or two. And then there will be discussion about how to fund that and how to phase it, in hopes that the construction happens together between Herman Renew and Herman retaining walls or slope projects with one bid package, along with multiple funding sources. The Renew is local sales tax, and the retaining wall, I would imagine, to be other funding, other municipal funding, other than sales tax. Any other Herman Renew questions? Next, we'll jump into Johnson. If you've driven by Johnson Park recently, you know that there's some construction activity taking place. And we seem to be on schedule with that project. I saw the first pay request come across my desk today through the architectural firm to send some money to Web Construction, because they've made some progress. And we seem to be on schedule for that project to be completed before winter, ready for the double state tournament late summer next year. Any questions about Johnson Renew? The next group would be Recreation Center. We're still in the concept phase there for the aquatic improvements, including a indoor water park, the indoor playground, the gymnastics center, and the Wellness Fitness Center. So I think, yeah, we're still a month or two away from consummating a concept that will then come to the Park Commission and the Renew Oversight Committee and the City Council for authorization to proceed with construction documents. I think we're on schedule for design and bidding this autumn and winter for construction during the next year, 2020 construction season. Very significant, you know, project there, a big chunk of the $14.8 million. And I think the design is proceeding on schedule. Any questions about Rec Center Renew?
All right. Next up is the German Park Amphitheater, Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners, and I would like to call to the podium our consultants, our design consultants from Bolton and Mink. John and Owen are here, but I will frame this with the action form before you. And what I'm recommending is that you forward this on to the City Council for them to approve the plans and specifications and authorize the bidding process. This is not committing the city to funds at this point or constructing it on any timeline, but it's moving us forward to complete the construction documents and send it out for bids and set a bid opening so that we can open the bids and find out what the true costs are going to be. You have in the action form here that we've been working on the design for some time and it's nearly complete. Minor changes in design are certainly still possible. And I'm anticipating, if the commission recommends at this meeting, that it goes to the city council at their next meeting, a week from tomorrow, July 16, to authorize approving the design and bidding. And then we would probably be opening bids in late August or early September and coming back to the city council for a decision. And from a construction standpoint, there's certainly a possibility that underground work could probably take place yet this year. Put the footings in, the site work in the footings, and then that would also allow Artstone to manufacture their terraces over the course of the winter, and then for installation and completion during the spring and summer of next year in 2020. Number one reason for doing this project is handicap accessibility for Americans with Disability Act access. This improvement will also update New Ulm's only outdoor multi-purpose performing arts center. We also anticipate revenue coming into the city coffers annually with rentals of this facility, such as weddings and concerts and other events. You have before you the present construction cost estimate in the vicinity of $778,000. To date, we have over $457,000 in cash and pledges, and that fundraising will continue over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, I would think, at least. So you have in the packet 2 attachments, including the 95% plans and, of course, the renderings, the color renderings, which are actually probably more exciting to look at than the plans. But at this point, I would recommend, Chair Vorwerk, that you turn it over to John from Bolton and Mink and let him give us his presentation.
All right, okay, John.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Chair and Commissioners. As Tom mentioned, my name is Jonathan Nelson, landscape architect at Bolton and Mink. I've been working with Tom and city staff on putting together this concept plan for quite a while now. And I can probably skip quite a bit of my presentation now with that background from Tom. So, as you guys probably know, this really came about in 2012. I started looking at with the feasibility report, looking at opportunities to improve the amphitheater and the terraces that were failing. So, being involved in that portion of the project and coming forward to now, I think we've come up with a really good solution to fix that problem and really develop an amphitheater that is going to be able to host some nice events for the city and as Tom said, bring in some revenue and really add to German Park. Schedule, Tom mentioned, concept plan, what you guys have in your packets. Essentially, what you see is we're looking at providing, as Tom mentioned, a big portion of the project is ADA access. So getting those accessible ramps down to some accessible seating areas at the top of the amphitheater from German Street. That'll really help to bring people in from both directions, be able to accommodate accessibility both from the top of the amphitheater as well as down to the bottom from the existing ramps within the park. As part of the project as well, we're looking at kind of replicating that. You can't really see the laser on the screen, but on the right side of the screen there, replicating the existing staircase that goes down to the formal gardens looking at replicating that over to the west side to kind of complete that connection there. The amphitheater would have a shade structure associated with it at the top of again, at the upper terrace of the amphitheater. We looked at several concepts for this. We looked at more of a pergola type structure, but with the sun angles and things, we thought it would probably just make more sense to have a solid roof as part of that, and it could also provide some shelter for rain and things like that. So we kind of modified the design to incorporate that as well. The plan as it sits right now would accommodate about 570 people within the amphitheater, seating for 570. So you could get some pretty significant size events taking place there. And feel free to ask any questions if you guys have them during the presentation as well. Getting more into the landscape plantings, one of the big things we wanted to look at was incorporating a variety of tree species. We looked at, do we incorporate some ornamental trees or evergreen trees? And we kind of came to the conclusion that, shade is going to be a big priority within the park and for the amphitheater. So looked at kind of focusing on strictly overstory trees for plantings, limiting those to kind of key areas up at the top of the amphitheater where they're really going to provide some good shade for the amphitheater and help provide kind of a block from German Street to, help kind of close in the amphitheater. And then there would be a few select locations for perennial plantings or annuals, depending on preference from the city, but kind of at the entrances to the ped ramps, those two purple color blobs there, and then in the middle on that central kind of grand staircase, there would be some shrub or perennial plantings along that grand staircase.
Just back up a little bit, I guess, got one question.
Yep.
You said about 570, showed 550 on the legend. ADA space on the top, do you have that calc? How many spaces we'll get out of it?
I don't have a calc for it. We have about, let's see, I'd say.
I mean, it looks like quite a few.
It's probably, so the ADA seating areas we would look at would be on the outsides of the top, and that's about 20 feet wide on each side. So you have about 40 feet in total of area to accommodate wheelchairs.
So the top row and both the top row and the bottom row are fully accessible.
We also looked at, obviously, electrical is going to be an important part of the amphitheater to accommodate events, as well as safety for the theater and the park as a whole. So we looked at providing a number of elements in that regard. We have kind of showing the existing light locations throughout the park that would remain unchanged, and then along German Street as well. We're relocating 3 of the overhead kind of pole lights. There's 3 lights currently that kind of ring the top of the amphitheater as it sits right now, and we'd take those lights and relocate them to accommodate the new design and reinstall those in different locations. We looked at incorporating stairway lighting within the amphitheater down the central staircase for safety reasons, again, just to provide some light during events and things. That would be probably a dimmable light so that you could dim it down during the events and have some low lighting on the stairs, and then bring it up at the ends or just completely isolate it off when there aren't events happening. We also have electrical receptacles, are the blue dots up there. So there would be 2 at the bottom of the amphitheater near the stage area, and then there would be a number of them built into the shade structure posts on the top of the amphitheater. I believe there's 10 kind of around the upper tier of the amphitheater. We'd also have a power pedestal at the bottom of the amphitheater that could be used for plugging in instruments and the things required for performances. And then providing conduit up to the top that would be reserved strictly for PA system wiring and things like that. So you can get your your sound equipment directly connected up to a soundboard at the top of the amphitheater, so you can kind of control the sound during the events. And this would require probably adding 6 circuits to the existing circuit board to be able to kind of run each of those items independently. And I believe the current circuit board can accommodate those, but that's something that we'll have to verify. So.
Okay, anybody have any other questions for John? I think this plan is really, looks really nice, and I've spoken to some members of the Congress Singers who are frequent users of the amphitheater, and they're very supportive of it. One comment they had, though, is that it's taken about 24 years for the trees to block the sun when they're singing, staring into the sun. So are they starting from scratch with the new plantings then? Because it looks like a lot of trees are coming out.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, with the grading that's going to be required to accommodate the concrete terraces, you will lose, a fair amount of the ash trees. You can see they're kind of shown in gray there behind the red and yellow trees. We're looking at saving 5 of the existing kind of mature ash trees there. And that's kind of, pushing the grading limits as far as I could to
Sure.
preserve as many as I could. That's what we'd be looking at. If the trees are a major concern, obviously, you just have to maybe lose a terrace or something of seeding.
No, I'm not saying it's a deal breaker. It's just they said it's finally easy to sing towards the sun now.
Yeah, and there are some nice mature trees along German Street too that will probably help with that as well. They sit a little higher, up on the terrace, so.
Sure. All right.
Those trees along the top, a little bit too much of a monoculture with all ash. And I think we realize what insect is going to be decimating our ash trees in the not too distant future, emerald ash borer. So, the trees will be changing.
All right. Any more comments or otherwise?
Just one comment to let the park board know, council, you're going to look at it. It all looks good to me, but they're going to jump a little. We're $325,000 short for the project. I mean, the park fund balance, it's rising a little bit. It's at 20%, about $750,000. That's the one item that, I'll jump at. We're $325,000 short. And I realize going out for bidding process doesn't lock the city into anything.
Fundraising continues also.
Okay. All right. So there's an action sheet here. Do we want to move forward on this?
I'll motion, send it forward to city council.
I'll second it.
All right. There's been a motion and a second to recommend the city council approve the plans, specifications, and authorize the bidding process for the German Park. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Continuing on to new business. We are looking at the 2020 fee schedule. Director Schmitz?
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. You have before you the first draft from staff of a proposed 2020 fee schedule. And the main element that we think about on an annual basis when we review fees is to attempt to keep up with inflation and to also attempt to recoup expenses from users of our system. So I don't have any other significant words of wisdom at this moment. There's a lot of numbers and 3 big pages here. We do not need to take action this month. I would recommend that you take a month to review it and contemplate it, and it'll be on our agenda next month. I don't think we actually have to send it on to City Council until, September, I think. If we can't make a decision next month in August, I think we still have the month of September.
That's correct.
So I have nothing else to add at this point. Please take the next month to review it
Okay.
and submit comments or questions to my office at any time.
All right. We will do that. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item then. Power plant German Park portrait. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners, and I'd like to call up to the podium Denny Warda. And you have before you in the packet some information. I will begin to frame the discussion, and that is the fact that the Public Utilities Commission has already authorized this project, proposed project, to proceed. Mr. Warda has approached staff to attach a metal portrait of Christian Prignitz on the side of the power plant building, facing German Park. It would possibly be illuminated. Christian Prignitz was a pioneer surveyor, and in 1858 drew the plat of New Ulm of approximately 6,000 acres. And an interpretive and informational sign would also be a part of the project and located somewhere in German Park. And Dennis Warda plans for the project to be entirely privately funded. And there's a few attachments in the packet, and I would recommend you, Chair Vorwerk, you turn it over to Dennis Warda for his presentation.
Yes, thank you, Director Schmitz. Mr. Warda.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think it is timely to give credit to the man who designed this beautifully and unique laid-out city. According to a 1947 newspaper article, there were only 2 towns in the whole United States that didn't need updates after 150 years, one of which is New York City, and the other is New Ulm. And that's quite a compliment. At that same time, Mr. Prignitz, of course, knew nothing about automobiles, but wisely created our wide streets, wisely created our park system, our central park, which is German Park. And that's really why I think it's fitting that this portrait of him, which will be out of aluminum, about 8 feet tall, with a black composite backing, and it will be hung on the corrugated metal tower the PUC has that overlooks the park. So actually, he will be overlooking his central park. The plan is to have solar panel illumination, and also to his eyes may be cameras. So we will add a bit of security as well. He's going to overlook his park in many ways. I think it's very interesting and fitting. In 1947, I'll read this out of the newspaper article that appeared at that time. Someday, when pioneers of the city are honored, someone is going to remember Christian Prignitz with a monument as at an appropriate tribute to a great man who visioned a New Ulm even larger and more delightful than the present City Beautiful. So I think it's an opportunity to inform the people of the vision and every leaders that we had at the founding of the city, and that's what we were enjoying today.
Thank you, Mr. Warda. One question I have is, do we even have jurisdiction over the side of the PUC building?
Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners, I'm not certain that the Park and Recreation Commission does.
Sure.
I imagine the City Council does and the Public Utilities Commissioners. But given the fact that, it's a, it'll be a portrait fully visible from the park, I think it's quite fitting for this proposed project to come before the commission, Park and Rec Commission.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm for it. Any other comment? Do we need to make a motion to send off to city council?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to recommend the city council authorize installation of a metal portrait of Christian Prignitz on the north side of the power plant building facing German Park. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
All right, moving on to donations. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. You have before you an offer of some donations that have come to the department over the past month, and I recommend you forward them on to the City Council for their acceptance. The first one is the bicycle repair station, courtesy of George Glotzbach, and valued at $1,670. The next one is a $25 cash gift from Ken and Vicky Roloff to be placed into the German Park Amphitheater Fund. Also, a German Park paver stone and improvement projects, $100 cash from Kathy Winschittel. And the final one is $100 cash from New Ulm Real Estate for a sponsorship of the Days of Play. The grand total this month is $1,895 in cash offered to the city. I recommend you forward it on to the City Council.
All right, thank you, Director Schmitz. Do we have a motion on these generous donations?
So move.
Second.
All right, motion and second to recommend the city council, or recommend the city council accept the following donation, or the donations that you mentioned. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next up, staff reports. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. Just a few updates. The splash pad has been ordered, and we're beginning design of the site plan at North Park in hopes of a open house and ribbon cutting sometime in August if things continue on schedule. You also have at your desk a magnet with the Rec on the Go schedule. That program is in full speed again this summer, and a lot of people are enjoying free recreation at a number of parks, courtesy of that program and the department and its various sponsors, including Alina Health and New Ulm Community Ed. The brochure is available in print at a number of locations, including the rec center. Also on the website, we're still accepting registration for a variety of programs and activities. We're deep in planning for the autumn brochure, which will be coming out in about a month. Beyond that, I'm continuing to meet with a group of enthusiasts down at Minnesota River Parkway, the River Development Advocacy Group for possible improvements and amenities to the Minnesota River Parkway, including Riverside Park and Minnicon Park, and accessibility to the Environmental Learning Center that's housed in the Riverside Park building, the former Franklin School. And then the final thing I think I want to add is the system tour. You all should have received an email today with our next 3 regular meetings, the second Monday of August, September, and October. I'm recommending that we conduct a partial system tour. We normally don't have time to visit every single site, every single park and building. But immediately after one of our upcoming regular meetings, we'll climb on the 15-passenger city bus and drive around and look at various parks and buildings and sites that you would like to see. So please complete that poll that's in your email, and we'll decide whether we're going to try and do that after the August, September, or October meeting. I think that's all I have for updates from staff.
All right, thank you, Director Schmitz. Next, commissioner reports. Don't believe we probably have any. And our next meeting will be August 12th, 2019. And with that, I declare that we are adjourned.